I have one job today, and one job only. It's to explain to you why this screenshot over there is a really cool screenshot. Are you ready for that? Yeah. Come on, are you ready for? Yeah. Thank you. There we go. It's Friday, right? Yes. All right, hi. My name is Olof Åge. I'm a senior software developer, and this will sound strange, but one, I am no Doom expert, and two, I do not work at the European Space Agency. Okay, cool. Who knows this? Only 4 people? Yes, thank you. Good. Doom is a 1993 first-person shooter. Looks kind of like this. You have a gun, and you shoot the demons in the face, right? It's great fun, right? Your own Phobos, one of the moons of Mars. You like story, right? Good. It's the home of a teleportation experiment that went wrong. Yada, 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 demons from hell. Right? That is the detailed description of Doom, the video game. You will not find more lore than this, right? Good. In 1997, id Software, the makers of the game, open sourced Doom, and the community, no, they went wild. They went absolutely wild, right? In the README file of the original release of Doom, when it open sourced, they gave people some project ideas. The file said, some project ideas. Port it to your favorite operating system. And oh boy. This is just the tip of the iceberg of just the Doom variant, and then there's, you know, stuff. People ported it to their smartwatch, they ported it to Sonic. I don't even actually know if that Doom in Sonic works, but that's a really funny thing to see. But yeah, Doom runs on everything, right? Now, it has kind of turned into more of a challenge. Can it run Doom, right? Like, you might ask, but why is it so easily portable? Like, what's going on here? Well, the boring description is it's relatively straightforward C with few external dependencies that can be swapped out easily. Yeah. So this is a function. Functions can have if statements and ask questions. Functions can call other functions, right? You can do some math within those functions. You can even do math in the if statements, which is a fun thing to see. You can do other checks, return booleans, right? So this will run on everything, right? Good. In 2020, I'm sorry to Jason if he's here in the audience. There he is. In 2020, Jason Turner made a very short YouTube video. Shortest one I've ever made. Yes, where he was playing with the idea of porting Doom to C++. It is only 11 hours. He did not finish. One day, right? Sure. In 2022, Patricia Oss, which also might be somewhere, there she is, had an idea of maybe Doom can be an interesting educational tool. So she continued where Jason left off. And the initial question Patricia had to me was, how can I make sure what I changed is still okay? Because you're going to mess with code and abstract and refactor and yada yada. I don't know if it's going to work, right? I compiled it, it works, right? So Doom allows you to write and record your play session to disk, and record it to a file. But this is 1993, so these files only contain the actual inputs that you press during the gameplay session. So you can see that these are only a couple of kilobytes in size. This works because any source of randomness is pulled from this file over here, and is shared between all entities in the game. And each entity performs its actions in the same order, so it's very deterministic. Very demure, right? So you can write unit tests. Sure, that's fine. You can play the game yourself, or you can replay the demo file that you've recorded, a bunch of them even, and check how the level went, and compare it to a known good version of the game. So you do your code changes, and then run the demo files again. Did they kill the same monsters? Did they find the same secrets? Yada, yada. If you did any breaking changes, the butterfly effect is in full swing over here. So the text output that you can get also from the game, which is the same screen at the end of the game, will be different. So if you broke anything, you will obviously see if you broke anything, right? And then you can hook this up to your build system and run all of the demo files on all the platforms, right? All green. And since we're just checking text output against text output, we don't even need to render anything to the screen. We can also modify the game so it doesn't even run at the same speed. It runs as fast as it can. So running all the demo files, every single one of them, just takes a couple of milliseconds. Good. This gives us Doom on GitHub Actions, which is a talk I gave at this very conference last year. Very fun. Then the video of the talk, there's me talking, got released on YouTube. And shortly after that video got released on YouTube, I got a message. Hey man, I'm an engineer at the European Space Agency. I've been meaning to run Doom on the OPSAT spacecraft. Maybe you'd be interested in partnering. So I see this message, and my first thought in my head was, wow, those spammers are really good. Like really targeting special interests right now, right? Good. So this is George Lebres, PS, not a scammer. A spacecraft operation engineer at the European Space Agency, and now a systems engineer at Tanaka Space. And hey, if you need in-orbit machine learning, just so you know, he's your guy. Good to know. So what is this OPSAT, right? This is from the European Space Agency. It's a flying laboratory. ESA's OPSAT is the first of its kind with the sole purpose of testing and validating new techniques in mission control and onboard satellite systems. So it's a test bed, right? The mission is devoted to demonstrating drastically improved mission control capabilities that will arise when satellites can fly more powerful onboard computers. The satellite is only 30 centimeters high, but it contains an experimental computer 10 times more powerful than any current ESA spacecraft. You say 30 centimeters. For those who traveled here via airplane, your suitcase is probably bigger than OPSAT. Good. So, what's going on here? The satellite industry has this vicious cycle of has never flown, will never fly. So the point with that project was to break that curse, because if you spent all of those millions of dollars, right, you're not very receptive to some cool experimental ideas, right? Or maybe you are. I mean, you should call the space people then. The whole point of the project is to be an open laboratory. To have and accept experimental ideas from the public. It says, the world's only spacecraft freely open to public use. That was OPSAT. Cool, right? So, current satellites run a lot of specialized hardware, and for a good reason. But they wanted to run as much off-the-shelf hardware as they could. So, they have Altera Cyclone 5 with ARM dual-core Cortex, A9s, and a Cyclone 5 FPGA. For the nerds in the audience, which I think is everybody. Yes, good. The part of the satellite where they perform the experiments is Ubuntu 18.4, and you'd be like, wait a minute, 18.4? Well, that's because that was the LTS version when they launched. It's very hard to get updates in space. Just FYI. Okay. So, this was a cool opportunity, right? To get Doom running on the satellite, but how on earth can I do that? I had to. It's the law. So they had a pretty cool setup. They had a Docker image that was basically a mirror of what they were running on the satellite. So they just told me, if you can get it running there, then yeah, we can get it running on the satellite. So, okay, deal. So to start with, the idea was to just mimic the Doom on GitHub Actions project. Just get that running, we can go on from there. So I picked Chocolate Doom 2.3, because of the libraries that existed already on the satellite worked with the 2.3. There is a newer version, but they use a different version of STL, so I could actually compile this, which was, benefit. We can then build a game on the test environment that mimics the satellite setup, and we could then pre-record a bunch of demos on Earth, and then those demos would be the files that the games ran. So sadly, you can't actually play Doom on a satellite. First of all, there's no screen, and if there was, it's pretty far away. And otherwise, the lag is pretty big. So you wouldn't also be very good at playing Doom. So I mean, you can run the demo files, which is essentially running Doom. So you check the output of the demo files in space. So you make the game output the demo files. You do a diff of them. If they match, we're good, right? We get a big old OK. Cool. We ready? Ready? Live demo? No. Because here's the thing. This is neat. This is a cool, fun little project. But the satellite is actively being used for important experiments. So a cool Doom thing, the amount of time we got on the satellite was, probably the size of Doom, not very big. So every decision we made, like any tech decision we made, had to be, can I maximize my success? What can I do? What can I write that will basically guarantee that this will run? So this was basically our modus operandi. So as an example, this is a diff of the changes we made to get Chocolate Doom to run on the satellite. Only 31 files changed, 370 lines added, and 130 lines deleted. That was it. As minimal as we could, just to get it to run. And those changes are like, hey, don't draw to the screen. Draw to the dummy driver. Or if you're in the no graphics mode, don't sleep. So the game would run as fast as you can. Or whatever custom build scripts we would have. So those would take up the lines we would have. Or any scripts that we would have to set up the project. Because you have to copy the files there, link any libraries we have to use, and set up the environment. So that Doom thing can run in isolation, and if something fails, they can swap it out with something that would, some other experiment. So they can swap out the experiments, and of course, kapla, great success, right? And then, on December 28th, 2023, and just in time for the 30th anniversary of the game, we ran Doom on Upset. Yeah. So this is also why we have those OKs, and I explained the OKs to you, because each OK is a demo being run, and there's no diff in the whole thing. So OK, 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 all the demos are great. Cool. For those who know, John Carmack saw that tweet, gave it a good old like, cool. So, I mean, good stuff, right? We got an OK, but getting an OK on a log line, you're running Doom in space. So we got to go bigger, right? And as you know, the screenshot in the beginning, yada, yada. There is a little twist, though. We did have an experiment in mind, but unfortunately, it didn't work, which, happens in science, for those of you here who do science. Cosmic rays. So in 2003, a Belgian voting error was detected because a candidate got 4,096 extra votes. What might you think happens if someone gets 4,096 extra votes? Right? There's a good old bit flip. So yeah, that was suggested as the idea. There good old bit flip. In 2013, Super Mario player Dota Teabag was playing Mario when he went from this position to this position. That was initially thought to have been a cosmic ray, because there was just a one bit flip that was needed to go from that place to that place. Likely that he had the game kind of crookedly set in, but again, bit flips can ruin stuff. And from NASA themselves, can space radiation affect satellites? So how can you detect this kind of stuff, right? If you have a system with a bunch of bytes, which most systems do, right? How can you know that one byte state change to another byte state change is the correct byte state change? There you go. That's a thing you can say. So the initial experiment was, just outside of running Doom, can we detect bit flips in space using Doom? Because that also would be pretty cool. So, as I mentioned earlier, we can detect changes in the system, the good old butterfly effect, right? So if any bits would flip in Doom, that might cause the gameplay to change, which might cause the output files to change, which will then result in a diff of the known good version. So another thing I did was to maximize our success is, the RNG table that we had in the beginning. We make it take way more space. We make it all 0, and we make all of the movement in a game use the RNG table. So the table is all zeros, right? And I make all character movement and mouse movement use the random number generator table, which is a no-op to begin with. But that means that if anything changed, because the movement is such an integral part of the game, the character will stray off path, the demo would not run correctly. So then you also record new demos with this new RNG table. Those are now the new known good versions, and then you play that in space. Okay, so here's why this doesn't work. This is 8 gigabytes, which is the hard drive space of the satellite, or one of the hard drive spaces in the satellite. This is 1800 pixels wide, which means it's 4.4 megabytes per pixel, which means our Doom, without the libraries, is about 8 megabytes. Okay, who has their glasses on? Ready? This is Doom. Do you see Doom? Do you see the tiny red line? So the idea was, can you detect Doom, bit flips using Doom? Yeah, in that space, right? We had extra libraries, and the libraries could also do a bit flip, but then usually the game would crash. But that would be any application, right? Or hopefully any application. So our experiment didn't even leave Earth. We were trying to detect a single event upset in space of that size. Could we achieve it? Yeah, like we did simulations and modified values, and yeah, we did get a diff of the thing, but sadly, that experiment didn't work. But we were still going to run Doom in space. So we have Doom in space, and the satellite doesn't have much time left. I'm saying something interesting. Yes, the satellite doesn't have time. It was launched in 2019, and the plan was not to keep the satellite orbiting forever, because there was an initial testbed satellite. So when the Doom ran initially with all the OKs, this was its orbital height. And anything under about 250, 300, no go, right? So we were running out of time. So Shores, the not scammer from the beginning, wonderful guy, had a brilliant idea. The satellite has a camera. What if we use the photos the satellite took to replace the sky that's in the game? So when the satellite is playing Doom, what satellite is seeing while playing Doom is the view of the Earth while it's playing Doom. So here's a wonderful artistic rendering of what I'm thinking. We can take a screenshot, so if we play the game frame by frame, so we can just save one of the frames. So instead of having the landscape of Phobos, we would have the Earth. Highly technical, right? Cool. There's one slight problem. The photo that I'm using in the background, is a photo that OPSAT took. It is high resolution, it's 4K. It has all these beautiful colors, right? It's great. Because the satellite has no graphics rendering hardware, there's no NVIDIA, GTX, RTX, whatever, up in the satellite, sorry. And we have to draw the game in software mode. So what do you mean software mode? That might be a word maybe the younger people don't know. Doom has a predefined palette of colors. So everything the game is drawing is using those fixed set of colors. No other colors can be used. There are 256 of them. It's these 256. Yeah. So we are going to try to draw that beautiful landscape plus the game using those colors. That's going to work, right? Who's optimistic? Yeah? Good. So, I mean, the first thing you can do is just try, right? We experimented with a lot of different photos and file formats and try to get like a photo that would look good in-game. So, I mean, this is a good one. Just all the colors, right? No, that doesn't work. TVs have this for a reason, probably, right? No, it also doesn't work. What about the beautiful blue marble, right, by NASA? I have to say, this is not taken by the satellite, just so you know. That should look beautiful. That's kind of the idea, right? This should look beautiful in the game. And sadly, it doesn't. It looks squashed. Okay, so what do we do? I mean, if you look here, this part should look like this part. And those who know, who can see an issue with the image? There's another issue with the image. People who have lived on this planet for a while. It's flipped. Doom flips the images also, for some reason. So you can see that South America is, you know. Anyway, all of the game data is stored in a file called doom.wad. Here we're using the shareware version. So there are tools like Deotex that allow you to extract those files. And when you extract those files, they're just there. It's a PNG image. You just replace the image. And then you repack, again, using DevText, and then now you have the new file. And then you just run that file. So it's pretty easy. So I recommend you play with that. So yeah, of course, this isn't good enough, right? The satellite is going to take gorgeous, gorgeous photos. They should look gorgeous in the game. So Source has another suggestion. He's full of ideas, that man. Another project that he had been working on was about taking photos on the satellite. Because as you can imagine, conditions in space aren't always perfect. The photos can come out noisy. So he wrote a paper of onboard machine learning denoising. So you would denoise it there and send the images back down so you don't have to do anything with it. So had some great success. So the idea was to use some of his ideas and libraries that he'd been using. So the idea was to use k-means clustering to reduce the amount of colors in the image to 256. Right? It's a step in the right direction. We use DKM, which is a lovely C++ library. I recommend it. You can look at it. So we prepare the data. You have three colors for pixel. You push them back. You normalize them just to be safe. You call the library k-means Lloyd. You get the means out. Then you go back through all of the channels, all the pixels. You call predict to get the color. You denormalize it again, and then you have the images. So one of these, again, if you have your glasses, one of these photos has 37,000 colors, and one of these photos has 256 colors. So who is team, what is his face like? Who is team left? Team left? 1/4. Who's team right? Good eye, good eye. Yeah, that has 256 colors. The other one has 37,033 colors. But yeah, it's hard, right? It's really tricky. So we would be happy with this, right? This is cool, this is great, I can use that in the game. So this is the thing before, you know. Huh? On the left, it was the 37,000 on your side. Whatever. Moving on. You were correct, everybody was great. I'm sorry. The other left, right? Anyway, so you remember the little shady part there on the left? My other left, your left, not my left. So it looks like this in game. So it's better, it's a progress, but it's not good enough, right? But why does it look like that? Because you still have the original problem. You're still using the palette from the game, this thing. You're still trying to map those colors to that color set. So I came up with an idea that was a little bit blasphemous, was let's just change the colors of the game then, right? Let's make the game be dictated by the photo, not the other way around, right? Nobody's going to notice, right? No. So the color palette is stored in a file called playpal.pal. The format is pretty simple. You just have the 3 values for each color, RGB, 255, and it's just one after another, right? You have 256 of them. You can also mess with them. You can play, you can give them random values, you can get fun things like this. Or if you do it wrong, this is a bug, of course. So, here's the game plan. We ready? Yeah? Good. We take a photo with the satellite. Good. We resize the photo so it fits the sky texture. We resample the photo to 256 colors, like we did before. We do palette magic, which I'll explain in a bit. We replace the photo and the playpal file with the DevText library. We play those demo files, and we take screenshots at predetermined locations, which we can do because we're doing software mode. We have the actual thing. We could just dump it to disk. We don't want to record the whole thing because I'm probably not going to get the allowance to send the whole video file from a satellite. I can get a couple of screenshots down. That should be fine. So what is this palette magic? We need to figure out what color in the photo and what color in the palette are you closest to. So if it's pure black in the photo, then you're probably closest to the pure black in the color palette. If you're some shade of blue, you might be close to another shade of blue-ish in the color palette, right? So we just find out the distance and save that, and we know the distance of all the colors in the whatever photo we're taking and the color palette of the game. We save those, and then we say, all the colors that are far away from the color that you are closest to, Because if the color is pretty close, we could just use it. That's fine. But if you're really far away from it, we want to do something else. So we collect all of the colors that are far away from a specific color. So one color in the playpal file might have like 5 or 6 other colors that they say are closest to the original color. Then, for each one of those colors, we average their color out. So here's the code for that. It doesn't look perfect, but it gave me a mix between the image looks good and the game kind of still looks like, the game. So this is done for each photo. So the palette file is different for each photo that's taken. So as a visual example, if these 3 colors of green say that that color of green is the closest one, and they're also pretty far away, we would then average those out, and that green would replace that green out. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So again, glasses mode. Here's the 2 differences. Can you see how good is this? Yeah, that's pretty good, right? It's the original one, the changed one. Original, changed, right? It's not much, but it's good enough. So how does it look in the game? So this is the original with the little blobby thing on the left side, right side, left side, something like that. And this is the different version. Yeah, pretty good. You can also, even like an extra glasses mode, if you look at the health thing at the bottom, it becomes slightly more green. I don't know if you can see that, but I have more examples of this. Cool. Then, on the 24th of March in 2024, this year, we got that photo. Right. We also got, so here's the thing. Whenever it ran, because we couldn't mess with the satellite, it just took a photo. Because it's the Doom project. We can't do that much, right? So we would just take a photo of whatever was in front of it, right? So sometimes we would get this, which is okay, oh great. Sometimes we would get this, which is called the blackness of space. Very real. Sometimes it's pretty photos like this, some skies and clouds, and you can see probably here more when if you see the ammo and armor, it becomes like very green. Like between this one and this one. I don't know if you can see it. Things become like greenish more. Okay? Another issue is the actual skies in the game, they tile pretty well. But the Earth doesn't tile very well, last I checked. So yeah, the images would sometimes look like this. I would like to see, like these screenshots I took, I perfectly picked them because you wouldn't see the tiling, but I would have a couple of them that had the tiling. So yeah. Another issue is that the satellite needs to point toward Earth to take a photo. Yeah, because it looks like this, and if you want to take a photo of the Earth, you need to do that and take a photo. You can see it has some cute little wings. So you can imagine that as you get closer and closer to Earth, pointing towards the Earth isn't necessarily healthy, I would say. It's called nadir pointing, that's the technical term of it. For that satellite there, actually, it's good to point towards the Earth, for that example. So you could say that playing Doom aided in the inevitable doom of the satellite itself. Good. So then, on the 22nd of May this year, sadly, the satellite went down like a champ. It actually flew over Oslo in one of its final trips. I think the last or the second last orbit around the Earth. And so I had like a satellite chasers app, and I ran outside. And of course, I can't see anything because it's tiny, and it's May in Oslo, so it's 9 o'clock. So yeah, no, you can't see anything. But it was there. It was there in my heart, right? And as I mentioned, the point of the OPSAT mission was to be a laboratory. So the second reason for running Doom on a satellite was to generate interest with people like you, which I think went okay, right? Because there is another one, OPSAT Vault, that you can sign up for experiments to. That one is focusing on quantum communication, for those who know what that is. I don't know what that is. I think it's like you have 2 electrons and they're spinning, and then you separate them and you can spin them, and they spin like the other spun. I don't know. I am a scientist. Mm-hmm. Huh? Yeah. Oh, we should run Quake. Yes, that's the one. So that second satellite is expected to launch in 2026, and you can register experiments. The URL is there. Again, this is a satellite for the public, but you again have to have an experiment. Thanks to these lovely people, especially Social Press, but a lot of the other people helped out. And I hope that now you know why this photo is pretty cool, right? Thank you.